company was small, a digital marketing agency with more ambition than resources, and Michael was the senior project manager, the one who kept the chaos from spilling over. He wore his responsibility like armor, always calm, always in control. The party was held at a rooftop bar downtown, the kind of place with exposed brick and Edison bulbs, where the drinks were overpriced and the music was just loud enough to discourage real conversation. Michael arrived late, as he always did, and found a corner near the windows where he could watch the city lights flicker below. He nursed a single glass of whiskey, making it last as long as possible, and exchanged polite small talk with colleagues who barely knew him outside of work. He noticed her almost immediately. Julia Bennett. She worked in the creative department, a copywriter with a reputation for brilliance and a tendency to keep to herself. Michael had always admired her from a distance, the way she listened more than she spoke, the way her eyes seemed to see straight through the noise. She was younger than him by a decade, maybe more, but there was something about her that felt old-souled, as if she carried secrets she'd never share. They had spoken only a handful of times, always about work. Julia was efficient, precise, and unfailingly polite. She never lingered in a break room, never joined the others for after-work drinks. Tonight, though, she looked different. Her hair was down, falling in loose waves around her shoulders, and she wore a dress that was simple but striking, a deep blue that made her eyes seem almost luminous. She stood alone near the balcony, a glass of wine in her hand, watching the city as if she were waiting for something. Michael hesitated before approaching her. He wasn't the type to make small talk, for the sake of it, but something about the way she stood so still, so apart from the crowd, made him want to bridge the distance. He walked over, careful not to startle her, and offered a tentative smile. Not a fan of parties, he asked, his voice low. Julia glanced at him, her lips curving into a faint smile. Not really. But sometimes it's easier to show up than to explain why you didn't. He nodded, understanding more than he cared to admit. They stood in companionable silence for a moment, the noise of the party fading into the background. Michael found himself relaxing, the tension in his shoulders easing just a little. Do you ever feel like you're just going through the motions? Julia asked suddenly, her gaze fixed on the skyline. Michael considered the question. Every day, he admitted. But I guess that's what keeps us moving forward. Julia looked at him then, really looked, and for a moment Michael felt exposed, as if she could see all the cracks he tried so hard to hide. He cleared his throat, searching for something to say, but Julia saved him the trouble. I'm glad you came over, she said softly. It's nice to talk to someone who doesn't expect anything. They talked for a while about nothing and everything, the weather, the latest campaign, the best coffee shops in the city. Michael was surprised by how easy it was, how natural. He found himself laughing, really laughing, for the first time in months. Julia's wit was dry, her observations sharp, and he realized he had underestimated her. As the night wore on, the party grew louder, the crowd looser. Michael checked his watch, guilt prickling at the edges of his mind. He needed to get home to Emma. He excused himself, promising Julia he'd see her at work, and made his way to the coat check. But as he reached the elevator, he heard footsteps behind him. Michael, wait. He turned to find Julia hurrying after him, her cheeks flushed. She hesitated, then pressed a slip of paper into his hand. In case you ever want to talk, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. He looked down at the paper, her phone number, scrawled in neat handwriting. When he looked up, she was already gone. Michael stood in the lobby for a moment, the slip of paper warm in his palm. He felt a strange flutter in his chest, something between anticipation and guilt. He hadn't expected the night to end this way, with a number pressed into his hand and a conversation lingering in his mind. He tucked the paper into his wallet, careful not to crease it, and stepped out into the cold. The city air was sharp, biting at his cheeks as he walked the few blocks to his car. He drove home with the radio low, the hum of the engine and the distant city lights blurring together. By the time he reached his apartment building, it was nearly midnight. He let himself in quietly, not wanting to wake Mrs. Carter, who was dozing on the couch with a book open on her lap. "Sorry I'm late," he whispered, handing her a folded bill. She waved him off, her eyes kind. "Emma was an angel, as always. She's lucky to have you, Michael." He smiled, though it felt a little forced. "I'm the lucky one." After Mrs. Carter left, Michael checked on Emma. She was asleep, her small body curled around her favorite stuffed bear, her hair a wild halo on the pillow. He stood in the doorway for a long moment, watching her breathe, feeling the weight of responsibility settle back onto his shoulders. He closed her door gently and went to the kitchen, pouring himself a glass of water. He should have gone to bed. He had work in the morning, meetings to prepare for, lunches to pack. But instead, he found himself at the kitchen table, the slip of paper in his hand. He traced the numbers with his thumb, wondering what it would mean to call. He wasn't looking for anything. He told himself that over and over. He was just lonely. And Julia understood that kind of loneliness. He didn't call her that night. He didn't call her the next day either. But he thought about it more than he wanted to admit. At work, things returned to their usual rhythm. Michael was good at his job, organized, efficient, respected. He kept his head down, focused on deadlines and deliverables, and tried not to think about the party or the way Julia's eyes had lingered on his. She was back to her usual self, quiet and composed, her hair pulled back, her clothes neat and unremarkable. They passed each other in the hallway, exchanged polite nods, but neither mentioned the conversation on the balcony. A week passed, then two. The slip of paper stayed in his wallet, a secret he carried with him everywhere. It was a Thursday when everything changed. Michael was late leaving the office, caught up in a last-minute crisis with a client. By the time he picked up Emma from aftercare, she was tired and cranky, her backpack dragging on the ground. He made her favorite dinner, mac and cheese from a box, and read her stories instead of one. When she finally fell asleep, he sat on the edge of his bed, exhausted. His phone buzzed, a number he didn't recognize. "Hi, it's Julia. I hope this isn't weird. I just needed someone to talk to. If you're awake." He stared at the message, his heart thudding. He typed back before he could overthink it. "I'm awake. Are you okay?" A pause. Then, "Not really. Can I call you?" He hesitated, then typed, "Yes." The phone rang almost immediately. Julia's voice was quiet, shaky. "I'm sorry," she said. "I know it's late. I just didn't know who else to call." "It's okay," Michael said, his voice gentle. "What's going on?" There was a long silence. He heard her breathing, the faint sound of traffic in the background. "I got some news tonight," she said finally, "about my dad. He's sick. Cancer. They don't know how long he has." Michael's chest tightened. "I'm so sorry, Julia." She laughed, a brittle sound. "I don't know why I'm telling you this. We barely know each other. Sometimes it's easier with someone who doesn't expect anything," he said, echoing her words from the party. She was quiet for a moment. "Yeah, maybe." They talked for a while, about her dad, about fear, about the way life could change in an instant. Michael listened, offering what comfort he could. He told her about losing his wife, about the nights when the silence felt like it would swallow him whole. Julia listened, her voice softening. "Thank you," she said when they finally hung up. "For listening. Anytime," he said, and meant it. After that night, something shifted between them. They started texting, small things at first. Jokes about work, complaints about the weather, pictures of their morning coffee. It was easy, unforced. Michael found himself looking forward to her messages, to the way she made him laugh even on the hardest days. One Friday, Julia suggested they meet for coffee. Michael hesitated. He hadn't been on a date since his wife died, and he wasn't sure he was ready. But Julia wasn't asking for a date. She just wanted company, someone to sit with in the quiet. They met at a small cafe near the park, the kind of place with mismatched chairs and a chalkboard menu. Julia was already there when he arrived, her hair pulled back, a book open in front of her. She smiled when she saw him, and for the first time, Michael felt something like hope. They talked for hours, about everything and nothing. Julia told him about her childhood, about the way her mother used to sing in the kitchen. Michael told her about Emma, about the way she insisted on wearing mismatched socks. They laughed, and for a little while, the world felt lighter. When they parted, Julia hugged him. It was brief, but it lingered. That night, Michael lay awake, staring at the ceiling. He thought about Julia, about the way her hand had felt on his back, about the way she listened without judgment. He wondered what it would mean to let someone in again, to risk the pain of loss for the chance at something real. The days that followed were a blur of routine and anticipation. Michael found himself checking his phone more often, waiting for Julia's name to light up the screen. Their conversations grew longer, more personal. They shared stories they hadn't told anyone else. Julia about her father's slow decline. Michael about the first time he realized he was truly alone after his wife's funeral. There was a comfort in their honesty, a sense that neither had to pretend. Emma noticed the change in her father. She was perceptive, as children often are, and one evening as they sat together on the couch, she looked up at him with wide, curious eyes. "Daddy, why do you smile at your phone now?" Michael laughed, ruffling her hair. "Just talking to a friend, kiddo." Emma considered this, then nodded, satisfied. "Is it a girlfriend?" He hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, it's a girlfriend. Her name is Julia." Emma grinned, her missing front tooth making her look even younger. "Is she nice?" "She's very nice," Michael said, and realized he meant it more than he'd expected. The next week, Julia asked if he wanted to go for a walk. It was a Saturday. The air crisp with the promise of spring. Michael brought Emma along, unsure if it was the right thing, but feeling it was time. Julia met them at the park, a little nervous, her hands tucked into the pockets of her coat. Emma took to Julia immediately, peppering her with questions about her favorite animals and whether she liked ice cream. Julia answered each one with patience and humor, and soon the three of them were laughing together, Emma skipping ahead to collect dandelions. They walked for hours, talking about everything from books to bad movies. Michael watched Julia with Emma, the way she listened, the way she knelt to tie Emma's shoe without being asked. It was a small thing, but it meant everything. Afterward, they sat on a bench while Emma played on the swings. Julia turned to Michael, her expression serious. "Is this okay?" she asked quietly. "Me being here, with you and Emma?" Michael nodded. "It's more than okay. I want you here." Julia smiled, relief softening her features. "I want to be here, too." They sat in comfortable silence, watching Emma soar higher and higher, her laughter ringing out across the park. For the first time in a long time, Michael felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. But life, as always, had other plans. That night, Julia called him, her voice trembling. "I need to tell you something," she said. "Something I should have told you before." Michael's heart pounded. "What is it?" There was a long pause. He could hear her breathing, could imagine her sitting on the edge of her bed, twisting the hem of her shirt in her hands. "I'm leaving," she said finally. "My dad, he's getting worse. My mom needs help. I have to go home for a while. I don't know how long." Michael closed his eyes, the ache in his chest sharp and sudden. "Of course, you have to be with your family." "I'm sorry," Julia whispered. "I didn't want to get close to you, to Emma, if I was just going to leave. But I couldn't help it." He swallowed hard. "I'm glad you did. No matter what happens, I'm glad. They talked for a while longer, making promises they both knew would be hard to keep. When they hung up, Michael sat in the dark, the silence pressing in around him. He wanted to believe that this wasn't the end, that Julia would come back, that they would pick up where they left off. But he knew better than to trust in happy endings. The next morning, he told Emma that Julia had to go away for a while. Emma was quiet, her small face serious. Will she come back? Michael hugged her tightly. I hope so, kiddo. I really hope so. Julia left the following week. She sent Michael a message from the airport, a simple thank you for everything. He replied, telling her to take care of herself, to call if she needed anything. Then she was gone, and the days stretched out, long and empty. Michael threw himself into work, into being a father. He packed lunches, helped with homework, read bedtime stories. He tried not to think about Julia, but she was everywhere, in the coffee shop where they'd met, in the park where Emma still asked about her, in the quiet moments after Emma had gone to bed. Weeks passed, then months. Julia sent occasional updates. Her father was holding on. Her mother was grateful for the help. She missed the city. Michael replied, keeping his messages light, not wanting to burden her with his own loneliness. One night, nearly 6 months after Julia had left, Michael came home to find Emma sitting on the floor of her room, her face streaked with tears. What's wrong, sweetheart? He asked, kneeling beside her. Emma looked up at him, her eyes red. I miss Mom, and I miss Julia. Why does everyone always leave? Michael's heart broke. He pulled her into his arms, holding her as she sobbed. I'm here, he whispered. I'm not going anywhere. He rocked her until she fell asleep, then sat in the dark, his own tears silent. He realized then that he had been holding back, afraid to let himself hope, afraid to let himself feel. But Emma was right. People left. That was the risk of loving anyone. But maybe, just maybe, it was worth it. The summer came and went, and with it, the city seemed to shift. Michael noticed the subtle changes. The way the light lingered longer in the evenings, the laughter of children echoing from the playground, the scent of cut grass drifting through open windows. He tried to let these small joys fill the spaces that loss had carved out inside him. He tried to be present for Emma, to give her the kind of summer she deserved. They went to the zoo, made pancakes on Saturday mornings, and built elaborate forts in the living room. Sometimes, when Emma was asleep, Michael would sit on the balcony with a cup of tea, watching the city lights and thinking of Julia. He wondered how she was, whether she was coping with her father's illness, whether she missed him the way he missed her. He wanted to reach out, to ask if she was okay, but he held back. He didn't want to intrude, didn't want to make things harder for her. Instead, he poured his energy into work and fatherhood, telling himself that was enough. But the truth was, he felt her absence like a missing limb. He caught himself composing messages he never sent, replaying old conversations in his mind. He missed her laugh, the way she listened, the way she made him feel seen. He missed the possibility of something more. One evening in late August, as Michael was cleaning up after dinner, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, expecting a work email or a reminder from Emma's school. Instead, it was a message from Julia. Hey, I know it's been a while. I just wanted to say hi. I hope you and Emma are doing well. Michael's heart leapt. He wiped his hands on a towel and typed back, his fingers trembling. We're good. Emma's growing like a weed. How are you? There was a pause, then Julia replied, I'm okay. My dad passed away last week. It was peaceful. I'm staying with my mom for a bit, but I'll be back in the city soon. I'd like to see you, if that's okay. Michael stared at the screen, relief and sorrow mingling in his chest. He wanted to say 1,000 things, but he kept it simple. Of course, whenever you're ready. Julia didn't reply right away, but Michael didn't mind. He knew she would reach out when she was ready. For the first time in months, he felt a flicker of hope. The next few weeks passed slowly. Michael tried not to think about Julia's return, but it was always there, a quiet anticipation humming beneath the surface. He focused on Emma, on work, on the routines that kept him grounded. But every time his phone buzzed, his heart skipped a beat. Then, one crisp September morning, Julia called. "Hey," she said, her voice soft but steady. "Hey," Michael replied, unable to keep the smile out of his voice. "I'm back," she said. "Would you like to meet for coffee?" He didn't hesitate. "Yes, I'd like that." They met at the same cafe where they'd first sat together, the one with the mismatched chairs and the chalkboard menu. Julia looked tired, her eyes shadowed, but she smiled when she saw him. They hugged, and for a moment, Michael just held her, feeling the tension melt away. They talked for hours, catching up on everything and nothing. Julia told him about her father's last days, about the quiet moments they'd shared, about the grief that came in waves. Michael listened, offering comfort where he could, sharing his own stories of loss and healing. When they parted, Julia squeezed his hand. "Thank you," she said, "for waiting, for understanding." Michael smiled. "I'm not going anywhere." Over the next few weeks, they saw each other more often. Sometimes Julia would join Michael and Emma for dinner. Sometimes they'd go for walks in the park. Sometimes they'd just sit together in comfortable silence. Julia was different now, quieter, more introspective. But Michael found he loved her all the more for it. She was honest about her grief, about the ways it had changed her, and Michael respected that. He knew what it was to be remade by loss. One evening, after Emma had gone to bed, Julia and Michael sat on the balcony, watching the city lights. Julia leaned her head on his shoulder, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm scared," she admitted. "I'm scared to start over. I'm scared to let myself be happy." Michael wrapped his arm around her, holding her close. "Me too," he said. "But maybe we can be scared together." Julia smiled, tears glistening in her eyes. "I'd like that." They sat in silence, the city humming around them, and for the first time in a long time, Michael felt at peace. He knew there would be hard days ahead, that grief didn't disappear just because you found someone to share it with. But he also knew that he wasn't alone anymore. He had Julia, he had Emma, he had hope. As autumn settled over the city, Michael found himself looking forward to the future. He didn't know what it would bring, but for the first time, he was willing to find out. The leaves began to turn, painting the city in shades of gold and crimson. Michael and Emma spent weekends raking piles in the courtyard, Emma leaping into them with shrieks of laughter. Julia joined them sometimes, her laughter mingling with Emma's. Her presence a gentle warmth that filled the spaces Michael hadn't realized were still empty. The three of them carved pumpkins, baked apple pies, and took long walks through the park, their footsteps crunching over fallen leaves. Michael found himself growing more comfortable with the idea of happiness. It was a tentative thing, fragile and new, but it was real. He watched Julia and Emma together, the way Julia listened to Emma's stories, the way Emma reached for Julia's hand without thinking. It felt natural, as if Julia had always been a part of their lives. One Saturday, as they sat around the kitchen table painting pumpkins, Emma looked up at Julia, her eyes bright. "Will you come to my school play?" she asked. "I'm going to be a tree." Julia smiled, her eyes soft. "I wouldn't miss it for the world." Michael watched the exchange, his heart full. He realized then how much he wanted Julia to stay, how much he needed her in their lives. But he was afraid to say it, afraid to push too hard too soon. That night, after Emma was asleep, Michael and Julia sat on the couch, a movie playing quietly in the background. Julia leaned against him, her head on his shoulder. "Thank you for today," she said softly. "I didn't realize how much I missed this, just being part of something." Michael hesitated, then took her hand. "You are part of something. You're part of us." Julia looked at him, her eyes searching his. "Are you sure? I don't want to make things complicated." Michael squeezed her hand. "Life is already complicated, but I know what I want. I want you here, with us." Julia smiled, tears shining in her eyes. "I want that too." They sat in silence, the weight of unspoken fears and hope settling between them. Michael knew there would be challenges ahead, blending their lives, navigating the scars they both carried. But he was willing to face them. For the first time since his wife's death, he felt ready to open his heart again. The weeks passed quickly. Julia became a regular presence in their lives, joining them for dinners, helping Emma with her homework, sharing quiet moments with Michael after Emma had gone to bed. They talked about everything, about their past, their fears, their dreams for the future. Michael found himself confiding in Julia in ways he never had before, sharing memories of his wife, his struggles as a single father, his doubts and insecurities. Julia listened without judgment, offering comfort and understanding. She shared her own stories, her own pain, and Michael realized how much strength it took for her to be vulnerable. They built something together, slowly and carefully, each step a testament to their willingness to try again. One evening, as they walked through the park, Julia stopped and turned to Michael. "There's something I need to tell you," she said, her voice trembling. Michael's heart skipped a beat. "What is it?" Julia took a deep breath. "The night of the party, the night we first really talked, I wasn't just lonely. I was scared. I just found out about my dad, and I didn't know how to handle it. I drank more than I should have, and I don't remember everything that happened after I left. I woke up the next morning with a sense of dread, like I'd done something I couldn't take back." Michael listened, his heart pounding. He remembered that night, the way Julia had pressed her number into his hand, the way she disappeared into the crowd. He'd wondered if there was more to the story, but he'd never asked. "I'm sorry," Julia whispered. "I never meant to drag you into my mess. I needed someone, and you were there." Michael reached for her hand, his grip gentle. "You didn't drag me into anything. I was there because I wanted to be. We all have nights we wish we could forget. What matters is what we do after." Julia looked at him, relief flooding her features. "Thank you. I was so afraid you'd think less of me." Michael shook his head. "If anything, I think more of you. You're stronger than you know." They stood together in the fading light, the city humming around them. Michael realized then that secrets didn't have to be walls. They could be bridges if you were willing to cross them together. As autumn deepened, Michael, Julia, and Emma settled into a new rhythm. There were still hard days, moments when grief or fear threatened to pull them under, but they faced them together. They learned to lean on each other, to trust that they could weather whatever storms came their way. For Michael, it was a revelation. He had spent so long trying to be strong for Emma, to carry the weight of the world on his own. But with Julia, he didn't have to pretend. He could be himself, flawed, uncertain, hopeful, and that was enough. The first frost of winter arrived quietly, dusting the city in silver and turning the park into a wonderland of brittle grass and shimmering branches. Michael woke early that morning, the apartment still and cold, and watched the sunrise from the kitchen window. He made coffee, savoring the warmth in his hands, and thought about how much had changed in the past year. There was a time when mornings like this felt empty, the silence a reminder of everything he'd lost. Now, the quiet was different, full of possibility, of hope. Emma padded into the kitchen, her hair a wild tangle, her eyes still heavy with sleep. She climbed onto a stool and rested her chin on her hands, watching Michael with a sleepy smile. "Is Julia coming over today?" she asked, her voice hopeful. Michael smiled. "She is. She's bringing breakfast." Emma grinned, her mood instantly brighter. "Can we make snowflakes for the windows?" "Of course," Michael said, ruffling her hair. "We'll make a whole blizzard." Julia arrived a little later, her arms full of pastries and her cheeks pink from the cold. She greeted Emma with a hug and Michael with a kiss, the kind that still made his heart race. They spent the morning cutting paper snowflakes, the kitchen table covered in scraps and laughter. Julia showed Emma how to fold the paper just right, how to snip tiny shapes to make the patterns more intricate. Michael watched them, his heart full, and realized how much he loved these simple moments. After breakfast, they bundled up and went outside, Emma insisting on making the first snowman of the season. Julia helped roll the snow into lopsided balls, her gloves quickly soaked through. Michael found a carrot for the nose and borrowed a scarf from the closet. When they finished, Emma named the snowman Mr. Frosty and insisted on taking a picture with him. They spent the rest of the day together, the three of them moving through the city like a small, makeshift family. They visited the holiday market, sipped hot chocolate, and watched the skaters at the ice rink. Julia held Emma's hand as they walked, her other hand tucked into Michael's. It felt natural, easy, as if they'd always belonged together. That evening, after Emma was asleep, Michael and Julia sat on the couch, a blanket draped over their legs. The apartment was quiet, the only sound the hum of the heater and the distant city traffic. Julia leaned her head on Michael's shoulder, her fingers tracing patterns on his arm. I never thought I'd have this, she said softly. A family, a place to belong. Michael kissed the top of her head. You do. You belong here, with us. Julia was quiet for a moment, then she turned to face him, her eyes serious. There's something I need to tell you. Something I've been holding onto. Michael's heart skipped. He nodded, giving her space to speak. The night of the party, Julia began, her voice trembling. I told you I didn't remember much. That was true, but there's more. I found out a few weeks later that I was pregnant. The words hung in the air, heavy and electric. Michael stared at her, his mind racing. I didn't know what to do. Julia continued, her voice barely above a whisper. I was scared. I didn't want to burden you, especially after everything you'd been through. And then, I lost the baby early on. I never told anyone, not even my mom. Michael reached for her hand, his own shaking. Julia, she shook her head, tears slipping down her cheeks. I'm sorry. I never meant to keep it from you. I didn't know how. Michael pulled her into his arms, holding her as she cried. He felt a rush of emotions, shock, sorrow, compassion. He thought about the secrets we carry, the burdens we bear alone because we're afraid of what they might mean to someone else. You're not alone, he whispered, not anymore. They sat together in the quiet, the weight of Julia's secret settling between them. Michael realized then that love wasn't about perfection or certainty. It was about showing up, about being there for each other, even when things were messy and hard. When Julia's tears finally subsided, she looked up at him, her eyes red but clear. Thank you, she said, for not running away. Michael smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. I'm not going anywhere. We'll get through this. Together. Julia nodded, a small smile tugging at her lips. Together. That night, as they lay in bed, Michael held Julia close, his heart aching with love and gratitude. He thought about the journey they'd taken, the losses, the secrets, the moments of joy and pain. He realized that healing wasn't a destination, but a process, a choice they made every day. He whispered a promise into the darkness, a vow to be there for Julia, for Emma, for himself. No more running, no more hiding, just love, in all its messy, beautiful forms. Winter deepened, and with it came a sense of quiet reflection. The city slowed under the weight of snow, and Michael found himself savoring the stillness. He and Julia grew closer, their routines intertwining in ways that felt both new and inevitable. Julia started leaving a toothbrush in Michael's bathroom, a sweater draped over the back of his chair. Emma began to ask if Julia would be there for dinner, her voice hopeful, as if she was already certain of the answer. One evening, as they sat around the table eating spaghetti, Emma looked up from her plate, her eyes bright with curiosity. Julia, do you have any brothers or sisters? Julia smiled, twirling her fork. No, it was just me and my parents. But I always wanted a big family. Emma grinned. You can be in our family. Daddy says families can be all different shapes. Michael felt a lump in his throat. He reached across the table, squeezing Julia's hand. She squeezed back, her eyes shining. After dinner, they played board games in the living room, laughter echoing off the walls. Michael watched Julia and Emma, the way they teased each other, the way Julia let Emma win just often enough to keep her happy. He realized how much he wanted this messy, imperfect, beautiful life. Later, after Emma was asleep, Michael and Julia sat together on the couch, the glow of the Christmas tree casting soft shadows across the room. Julia leaned into him, her head resting on his shoulder. Do you ever think about the future? She asked quietly. Michael nodded. All the time. I think about you, about Emma, about what it would be like to wake up with you every day. Julia smiled, her fingers tracing circles on his arm. I want that too. I want to build something with you, something real. Michael turned to her, his heart pounding. Move in with us, he said, the words tumbling out before he could second-guess them. I know it's fast, but it feels right. I want you here, with us. Julia's eyes filled with tears, but she was smiling. Yes, she whispered. I want that more than anything. They kissed, the promise of a new beginning hanging in the air. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of packing and planning. Julia's apartment was small, filled with books and plants and memories. Michael helped her box up her things, Emma insisting on labeling every box with colorful markers. They made a game of it, laughing as they tried to fit Julia's life into the back of Michael's car. The first night Julia spent in the apartment, they celebrated with takeout and a movie from home sign, taping it to Julia's bedroom door. Julia hugged her, tears in her eyes. "Thank you, Emma. I've never felt so welcome." Emma beamed, her arms wrapped around Julia's waist. "You're part of our family now." As the days passed, they settled into a new routine. Julia took over breakfast duty, her pancakes quickly becoming Emma's favorite. Michael found himself looking forward to mornings, to the sound of Julia humming in the kitchen, to the way Emma's laughter filled the apartment. But even as they built this new life together, Michael knew there were still challenges ahead. Blending families was never easy, and there were moments of tension, Emma testing boundaries, Julia struggling to find her place. But they faced each challenge together, talking through their fears and frustrations, always coming back to the love that held them together. One night, as Michael and Julia lay in bed, Julia turned to him, her expression serious. "Do you ever worry that this is too good to be true?" she asked. Michael smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Every day. But I also know that we've earned this. We've been through so much, Julia. We deserve to be happy." Julia nodded, her eyes shining. "I want to believe that. I want to believe that we can have this together." Michael pulled her close, holding her as the city slept around them. He knew there would be hard days ahead, but he also knew that they could face anything, as long as they faced it together. The new year arrived with a flurry of snow and a sense of anticipation. Michael, Julia, and Emma celebrated with sparklers on the balcony, their laughter echoing into the night. They made resolutions. Emma promised to keep her room clean. Julia vowed to learn how to cook something other than pancakes, and Michael simply promised to be present, to cherish every moment. January brought its own challenges. Emma struggled with the changes, sometimes acting out in ways that left Michael feeling helpless. Julia tried to help, but there were moments when she felt like an outsider, unsure of her place. Michael worried that he was asking too much of both of them, that he was trying to force something that needed more time. One evening, after a particularly difficult day, Michael found Emma sitting on her bed, her arms wrapped around her knees. "Hey, kiddo," he said gently, sitting beside her. "Rough day?" Emma nodded, her eyes downcast. "I miss Mom, and I like Julia, but sometimes I feel like I'm supposed to be happy all the time. What if I'm not?" Michael pulled her into his arms, holding her close. "It's okay to miss Mom. It's okay to feel sad, even when good things are happening. You don't have to be happy all the time. I just want you to be honest with me. With Julia, too." Emma sniffled, wiping her nose on her sleeve. "Do you think Mom would like Julia?" Michael smiled, his heart aching. "I think Mom would want us to be happy. I think she'd like Julia a lot." Emma nodded, her shoulders relaxing. Okay, that night, Michael talked to Julia, sharing Emma's fears and his own worries. Julia listened, her eyes soft with understanding. "I don't want to replace her mom," Julia said quietly. "I just want to be here for her, for both of you." Michael took her hand, squeezing it gently. "You are, and we're lucky to have you." They made a plan to take things slow, to give Emma space to adjust. Julia started spending more one-on-one time with Emma, reading together, working on art projects, going for walks in the park. Slowly, Emma began to open up, her laughter returning, her trust growing. As winter melted into spring, their little family found its rhythm. They celebrated Emma's 8th birthday with a picnic in the park, Julia baking a cake shaped like a unicorn. Michael watched them together, his heart full, and realized how far they'd come. But life, as always, had its own plans. One afternoon, as Michael was leaving work, he received a call from Julia. Her voice was shaky, her words rushed. "Michael, I need you to come home. Something's happened." Michael's heart pounded as he raced home, his mind spinning with worry. When he arrived, he found Julia sitting on the couch, her hands trembling. Emma was in her room, the door closed. "What happened?" Michael asked, his voice tight. Julia looked up, tears in her eyes. "Emma got into a fight at school. She said some kids were teasing her about not having a real mom. She hit one of them." Michael sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Is she okay?" Julia nodded. "She's upset. She said she doesn't want to talk to anyone. Michael went to Emma's room, knocking gently. "Can I come in?" There was a pause, then a quiet, "Okay." He sat beside her on the bed, pulling her close. "I'm sorry you had a hard day, Em. Do you want to talk about it?" Emma shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "I just want things to be normal." Michael hugged her, his own eyes stinging. "I know, sweetheart, but this is our normal now. And it's okay to be sad, or angry, or confused. We'll get through it, together." That night, after Emma was asleep, Michael and Julia sat together in the dark, holding hands. "We're doing our best," Julia whispered. Michael nodded, his voice thick with emotion. "And that's enough." Spring brought new beginnings. The city shook off its winter coat, and Michael felt a renewed sense of hope. He and Julia spent weekends planting flowers on the balcony, Emma helping by digging in the dirt and naming each plant. Their home was filled with color and laughter, the air alive with possibility. Julia started a new job at a local publishing house, her days filled with words and stories. Michael was proud of her, watching as she found her footing, her confidence growing with each passing week. Emma adjusted to the changes, her bond with Julia deepening. They shared secrets, inside jokes, and a love of silly songs that filled the apartment with music. One Saturday, as they sat together on the balcony, Julia turned to Michael, her eyes shining. "I never thought I'd have this," she said softly. "A family, a home." Michael smiled, pulling her close. "Me neither, but I'm glad we found each other." Emma joined them, her arms full of wildflowers. She handed a bouquet to Julia, her eyes bright. "For you, because you make Daddy happy." Julia hugged her, tears in her eyes. "Thank you, Emma. You make me happy, too." They spent the afternoon together, the three of them tangled in a mess of blankets and laughter. Michael realized then that happiness wasn't about perfection. It was about showing up, about loving each other through the hard days and the good ones. But even as they built this new life, Michael knew there were still shadows lurking at the edges. He worried about the future, about the secrets they still carried, about the ways the past could reach out and pull them back. He tried to push those fears aside, focusing on the present, on the love that held them together. One evening, as they sat together after dinner, Julia turned to Michael, her expression serious. "There's something I need to tell you," she said quietly. Michael's heart skipped. "What is it?" Julia took a deep breath. "I've been offered a promotion. It's a big opportunity, but it means more hours, more responsibility. I want to take it, but I'm scared. I don't want to lose what we have." Michael listened, his mind racing. He knew how hard Julia had worked, how much she deserved this chance, but he also understood her fear, the worry that success might come at the cost of happiness. "We'll figure it out," he said, taking her hand. "We'll make it work, together." Julia smiled, relief flooding her features. "Thank you. I just needed to hear you say that." They talked late, into the night, making plans, sharing dreams. Michael realized then that love wasn't about avoiding challenges, it was about facing them. Side by side, as spring turned to summer, their family continued to grow. They faced setbacks and disappointments, but they faced them together. Michael learned to trust in the strength of their bond, to believe that they could weather any storm. One night, as he watched Julia and Emma reading together, Michael felt a deep sense of gratitude. He thought about the journey they'd taken, the losses, the secrets, the moments of doubt and hope. He realized that healing wasn't a straight line, but a winding path, full of twists and turns. But with Julia and Emma by his side, he was ready for whatever came next. Summer arrived in a rush of heat and sunlight, the city alive with festivals and music drifting through open windows. Michael, Julia, and Emma fell into a rhythm that felt both new and deeply familiar. Mornings began with the clatter of breakfast in the kitchen, Julia humming as she poured coffee, Emma chattering about her dreams from the night before. Michael found himself smiling more, the heaviness that had once weighed him down now replaced by a quiet contentment. They spent weekends exploring the city, picnics in the park, afternoons at the museum, evenings watching movies with the windows open to let in the warm breeze. Emma's laughter became the soundtrack of their days, her joy infectious. Julia's presence was a steady comfort, her hand finding Michael's in crowded places, her voice soothing when the world felt overwhelming. One Saturday, they decided to take a trip to the beach. Emma had never seen the ocean, and her excitement was contagious. They packed a cooler with sandwiches and fruit, loaded the car with towels and sunscreen, and set off before sunrise. The drive was long, but the anticipation made it feel like an adventure. When they arrived, Emma ran straight to the water, her feet sinking into the wet sand. Julia followed, her laughter ringing out as Emma splashed her with cold waves. Michael watched them, his heart full. He joined them, the three of them chasing each other through the surf, building sandcastles, collecting shells. For a few hours, the world shrank to the size of their small patch of beach. The sun warm on their backs, the future stretching out before them like the endless horizon. As the sun began to set, they sat together on a blanket, watching the sky turn pink and gold. Emma leaned against Michael, her hair damp and tangled, her eyes heavy with sleep. "Today was the best day ever," she murmured. Michael kissed the top of her head. "I'm glad, sweetheart," Julia smiled, her hand resting on Michael's knee. "Thank you for this, for all of it." Michael looked at her, his heart overflowing. "Thank you for staying, for choosing us." They packed up as the stars began to appear. Emma asleep in the back seat before they left the parking lot. The drive home was quiet, Julia's hand in Michael's, the silence comfortable and full of promise. The days that followed were filled with small joys: ice cream melting in the sun, late-night card games, whispered conversations in the dark. Michael found himself thinking about the future, about the life they were building together. He wanted to make it official, to ask Julia to stay forever, but he hesitated, unsure if it was too soon, if he was asking too much. One evening, as they sat on the balcony watching the city lights, Julia turned to him, her eyes searching. "Do you ever think about getting married again?" she asked softly. Michael was quiet for a moment, considering his answer. "I do. I think about it a lot, but I don't want to rush you. I want you to be sure." Julia smiled, her eyes shining. "I am sure. I love you, Michael. I love Emma. I want to be a family, for real." Michael's heart soared. He reached for her hand, his voice trembling. "Will you marry me?" Julia laughed, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." They kissed, the city sparkling around them, the future bright and full of hope. Emma was overjoyed when they told her, her excitement bubbling over in a flurry of questions about dresses and flowers and whether she could be the flower girl. They spent the next few weeks planning a small ceremony, inviting only their closest friends and family. The wedding was simple, held in the park where they had spent so many afternoons together. Emma walked down the aisle ahead of Julia, scattering petals with a solemnity that made everyone smile. Julia wore a simple dress, her hair loose around her shoulders, her eyes never leaving Michael's. They exchanged vows under a canopy of trees, their promises quiet but fierce. Michael spoke of love and loss, of finding hope in the darkest places. Julia spoke of second chances, of choosing each other every day. When they kissed, the world seemed to hold its breath, the moment suspended in sunlight and laughter. Afterward, they celebrated with a picnic, Emma leading the charge in a game of tag, Julia and Michael watching her with matching smiles. As the sun set, Michael pulled Julia close, his heart full. "We did it," he whispered. Julia nodded, her eyes shining. "We did." That night, as they lay together in the quiet of their new life, Michael thought about the journey that had brought them here, the pain, the secrets, the nights he couldn't remember, and the love he never expected to find. He realized that every moment, every choice had led them to this. He held Julia close, Emma asleep in the next room, and whispered a silent thank you to the universe for second chances, for love, for family. The days after the wedding felt like a gentle exhale, as if the world itself had been holding its breath, and now, finally, everything could settle. Michael, Julia, and Emma returned to their apartment, the three of them moving through the familiar rooms with a new sense of belonging. There were still dishes to wash, laundry to fold, lunches to pack, but now every small task felt like a thread in the tapestry of their shared life. Emma adjusted quickly to the new normal. She took to calling Julia mom sometimes, testing the word on her tongue, watching Julia's face light up each time. There were still moments when she missed her first mother, when she would crawl into Michael's lap and ask for stories about her. But now those memories were met with warmth instead of pain. Julia listened to every story, never trying to replace what was lost. only adding to the love that filled their home. Michael found himself reflecting on the journey that had brought them here. He remembered the night of the company party, the confusion and fear, the secret Julia had carried alone. He remembered the ache of loneliness, the weight of responsibility, the night spent wondering if he would ever feel whole again. And he remembered the first time Julia had smiled at him, the way her eyes had seen straight through his defenses. He realized now that healing wasn't about erasing the past. It was about learning to live with it, to let it shape you without letting it define you. It was about forgiveness of others, of yourself, and about opening your heart to the possibility of joy, even when it seemed impossible. Julia, too, was changed. She had carried her own burdens, her own regrets. The secret she never meant to give had once felt like a shadow she could never escape. But Michael's acceptance, his willingness to share the weight, had given her the courage to let go. She found herself laughing more, dreaming more, believing in a future she had once thought was out of reach. Their life together was not perfect. There were still arguments, misunderstandings, days when the old fears crept in. But now, instead of pulling away, they leaned into each other. They talked. They listened. They forgave. They learned that love was not a cure, but a promise to show up, to try again, to choose each other every day. One evening, as summer faded into autumn, the three of them sat on the balcony, wrapped in blankets, watching the city lights flicker on. Emma was curled between them, her head on Julia's shoulder, her eyes heavy with sleep. "Tell me a story," she murmured. Michael smiled, glancing at Julia. "What kind of story?" "A happy one," Emma said, her voice soft. Julia kissed the top of her head. "How about the story of a single father, a night he couldn't remember, and a secret that changed everything?" Emma giggled, her eyes fluttering closed. "That's my favorite." Michael looked at Julia, his heart full, mine too. As the night deepened, Michael thought about all the things he had once feared, the loneliness, the uncertainty, the possibility of loss. He realized now that those fears had been the price of loving deeply, of living fully. He would never stop missing the people he had lost, but he would also never stop being grateful for the ones he had found. He held Julia's hand, feeling the steady beat of her heart, and knew that whatever the future held, they would face it together. Their story was not one of perfect endings, but of new beginnings, of hope, of forgiveness, of love that grew stronger with every challenge. And as the city slept around them, Michael whispered a silent promise to the night, to cherish this family, to honor the past, and to keep moving forward, one day at a time. Because sometimes, the greatest gifts are the ones we never meant to give, and the most beautiful stories are the ones we never expected to live. This wasn't a plea born of physical desire, but the raw, shattered cry of a soul who had lost everything. Lucas Mendes had the world in the palm of his hand, a real estate empire worth $500 million. A penthouse overlooking Ipanema Beach, a fleet of luxury cars, and the admiration of Rio's elite. But a single moment on a rain-slicked highway stole the one thing his fortune couldn't reclaim: his ability to walk. At 42, the man who once commanded boardrooms from the 50th floor was now imprisoned in a wheelchair, deserted by his society fiancé, stabbed in the back by partners who saw his weakness as an opportunity, and utterly isolated in his vast, silent home. Then came Sophia. She was 24, the daughter of Maria, the housekeeper who had served the Mendes family with unwavering loyalty for decades. Sophia had just earned her physiotherapy license. Inexperienced and gentle, she possessed an inner resilience she had yet to fully discover. When Lucas hired her as his living caregiver, neither could have predicted that the intimate, essential acts of healing would dismantle every barrier he had built, that his profound vulnerability would ignite her deep compassion, and that the day he whispered those desperate words during an agonizing therapy session, he was speaking of a spiritual hunger that would redefine both their destinies forever. This is a tale of two fractured lives intersecting at the precise instant the universe intended. And if you remain until the final moment, you will see that authentic affection recognizes no social boundaries, and that occasionally, the simplest hearts hold the unique capacity to mend the most broken spirits. The rhythmic chirping of hospital monitors was the soul noise piercing the quiet of the private wing at Hospital Copa Star. Lucas Mendes blinked, his eyes open. The sterile white light stung. He attempted to shift his weight, and a searing jolt of agony ripped through his back. But the true horror arrived when he comprehended something far worse than the pain. His legs were utterly unresponsive. He tried to flex his toes. Nothing. Tried to lift his knees. Nothing. Asterisk from his waist down. His body was a foreign, useless object, a heavy burden he would be forced to carry for the remainder of his days. At 42, Lucas had built his kingdom from the ground up. Mainda's holdings stood among Rio's most prestigious firms, towering condos in Lebanon, commercial giants on Avenida das Americas, public works contracts valued in the hundreds of millions. He was the son of a laborer who died in a worksite collapse when Lucas was just 16. He vowed he would never be another forgotten name on an accident report. He won a full scholarship to the renowned Federal University of Rio de Janeiro's engineering program, worked nights carrying materials, paid his dues with grit and relentless determination. By 26, he started his own firm. By 32, he was a millionaire. By 42, a multimillionaire. But the price was becoming a person he scarcely recognized in the glass, hardened, pragmatic, merciless in deals, emotionally distant. His fiancée, Camila Porto, scion of an old Rio industrial family, was the ideal match on paper. Stunning, driven, polished. Their engagement was less a romance and more a strategic alliance, to influential names, to fortunes that would merge, political and social access guaranteed. The crash occurred 1 month prior. He was piloting his Audi back from a negotiation in Barra, finalizing a massive deal on speakerphone, when a bus hydroplaned on the Linha Amarela overpass. The collision was devastating. The vehicle was crushed. Emergency crews said his survival defied odds. But when he awoke and the specialist delivered the diagnosis, Lucas wished he hadn't. Total paraplegia, L1 spinal injury, significant trauma, less than a 5% chance of meaningful recovery. Lifetime wheelchair use, intensive, perpetual physiotherapy, round-the-clock assistance. An existence completely alien to the one he had known. Camila paid one visit. She appeared in designer stilettos carrying a Prada bag, her makeup impeccable, perched on the edge of his bed, glanced at her screen more than at him, and after 20 minutes of hollow sympathy said a charity gala waited, and departed. 40-8 hours later, a text message materialized. No visit, no call. Just stark digital type. I can't handle this, Lucas. I'm not built to be a nurse. I have my own future to consider. Forgive me. She blocked his number instantly. 3 years together. 10 months engaged. A ceremony planned for December at the Copacabana Palace with 300 attendees. All undone by 37 cold words. His associates were more brutal. They arrived as a pack, wearing somber masks, clutching thick binders. Discussed operational stability, brand perception, shareholder calm. Proposed he resign as chairman, delegate authority. Allow them to manage everything while he focused on healing. Lucas knew their game perfectly, a hostile takeover while he was defenseless. He screamed at them to get out, swearing that Mainda's holdings was his creation alone. But in his core, he understood the frightening reality. Without mobility, without a physical presence at sites or meetings, how long could he possibly remain in control? 7 weeks post-accident, he was released and went back to the triple-level penthouse in Ipanema, the home he purchased, as a trophy of his triumph. Now every step was a taunt. Every spacious hall, every vacant room, every reflection of a man in a chair shouted the same message. He was totally, hopelessly, achingly solitary. Only Maria stayed, the housekeeper who had been with the family for 20 years. She prepared meals, cleaned, assisted with the fundamental tasks he could no longer manage himself. But he required more. He needed a dedicated caregiver trained in rehabilitation, someone to aid with washing, workouts, mobility. Dr. Almeida, his longtime doctor, suggested hiring a specialized nurse. Lucas met with 4. All were highly skilled. All watched him with sympathy, that patronizing stare, that gentle tone reserved for infants, that cautious contact as if he might break. He dismissed everyone. He didn't want their pity. He wanted back. One evening, while bringing tea to the terrace where Lucas spent afternoons gazing at the inaccessible skyline, Maria spoke softly. My girl Sophia just got her physiotherapy diploma from UFRJ, she said with quiet dignity. She works at a public clinic in Complexo do Mal, earning very little, but she has a gift, commitment, and the purest heart I know. She spent her youth looking after me when I was ill, studying late working days. She's reserved, never been with anyone. But if anyone can assist you with dedication and skill, it's her. Lucas was skeptical. The housekeeper's 24-year-old daughter. No private client background. Yet something in Maria's portrait, a young woman who had put others first. Her whole life resonated within him. He consented to an interview. He had no clue that choice would alter his destiny permanently. If you're still watching, thank you. What unfolds between Lucas and Sophia will test all your assumptions about genuine connection. Don't click away. Comment real love stays if you believe Camila never valued Lucas. Sophia Pereira navigated the crowded lanes of complex Odualema, her worn satchel slung over one shoulder, moving past food stalls and market stands. The afternoon heat was oppressive. She was damp with sweat after a 10-hour day at the Esperanza Community Clinic. 20 patients that day, elderly fall victims, post-surgery recoveries, work injuries, individuals who relied on public health care and depended on her completely. 5,000 reais monthly. Asterisk, that was her income. Just sufficient for her small rental, her mother's hypertension pills, transport, and food. Nothing extra. No new outfits. No social life. No simple pleasures other 24-year-olds enjoyed. But Sophia never voiced discontent. She had learned early that the world was unjust. Some entered life with privilege, others with struggle. The only thing that counted was how you played the hand you were dealt. Her mother raised her alone, cleaning luxurious apartments from morning until evening, returning drained but always smiling for her daughter, always ensuring Sophia could get an education. When Maria was diagnosed with high blood pressure years ago, Sophia resolved to become a physiotherapist to assist people like her mother, people who labored until their bodies gave out and deserved respect regardless of their financial status. She graduated top of her class, refused to lucrative positions in upscale zones, chose to remain in Alemão, serving those who genuinely needed her. That day, when she entered their small flat, Maria was at the kitchen table with a look Sophia couldn't decipher. "Mom, what is it?" Maria poured juice with slow, careful motions. "I have news, my child. News that could alter our path. But you must listen with an open spirit." She told Sophia about Lucas Mendes, the crash, the injury, the treachery, the solitude. About the proposition, 20,000 reals weekly. Her own suite in the penthouse. Full-time living PHYSIOTHERAPISD. Sophia felt the world tilt. Asterisk 80,000 reais a month. Enough for her mother's needed surgery. Enough to clear all debts. Enough to finally breathe. But why choose her? There were seasoned therapists with advanced degrees, private practices, networks. She was a novice. And then the deeper anxiety, the one she hardly acknowledged. She had never been intimate with a man, never been kissed, never had a relationship. And now she would have to wash, dress, and provide intimate care for a 42-year-old stranger. The idea frightened her deeply. But when she saw her mother's weary, hopeful face, when she considered the patients who would continue suffering without more resources, when she computed how much that money could achieve not just for them, but for countless others, she knew refusal wasn't an option. "All right, Mom," she murmured. "I'll meet him. But if it's too difficult, I return home." Maria beamed through tears. "Agreed. But you're more capable than you realize." 2 days later, Sophia stood shaking before the sleek security gates of the Mendes penthouse in Ipanema. She straightened her plain top and skirt, inhaled deeply, and pressed the intercom. A staff member ushered her through halls decorated with art and furnishings worth more than her entire existence. And there he was beside the panoramic windows, in a sophisticated wheelchair, observing the city with hollow eyes, even broken. Lucas Mendes was strikingly attractive, tall, strong build, defined jaw, intense gaze that seemed to look right into her. But what struck Sophia wasn't his appearance. It was the profound isolation surrounding him. "So you're Maria's daughter," he stated coldly. "The one who's supposedly going to restore my life." Sophia met his stare. "My name is Sophia Pereira. Mr. Mendes, I can't guarantee your former life returns, but I can pledge to give my all to help you construct a new one." He studied her for an extended moment, then a cynical half-smirk. Let's see how long you endure. Sophia Pereira. Let's see if you flee like the rest when you understand what tending to a man like me truly involves. Neither suspected it then, but in that instant, their fates had already intertwined. Do you think Sophia can restore not only Lucas's body, but his crushed spirit? Or is his anguish too profound for anyone to reach? The initial day started at 6 a.m. Sophia had scarcely rested. Anxiety, dread, the burden of entering a universe where she didn't fit. She dressed in her fresh white medical scrubs, pinned her hair up, and went to the room converted into a private rehab gym. She knocked, no reply. Knocked again. Finally a gruff, annoyed voice, enter. Lucas was by the window in the identical position. Unshaven, eyes dark, a nearly empty brandy glass nearby. Good morning, Mr. Mendes. I'm here for your initial assessment and session. He didn't face her. You know the issue with people like you, Sophia. You arrive brimming with optimism, imagining you'll change things. Then after 7 days of the truth of what it truly involves to care for someone like me, you bolt and never look back. I am not the others, she stated calmly, placing her bag down. And I do not run. He finally turned, eyes harsh, designed to frighten her off before connection could form and desertion could wound again. Oh really? Then let me clarify precisely what this role entails. You will have to bathe me, see me unclothed, touch areas of my body you've likely never touched on any man, aid me with fundamental needs that are degrading for me and probably revolting for you. Still believe you won't run. He rushed to her face, shame coiling in her gut, but she held his gaze. I am a qualified physiotherapist, Mr. Mendes. I studied human anatomy for years. I've treated patients of all backgrounds and states. The human form doesn't shame me, it earns my reverence. And if you believe you can intimidate me with blunt truths about caregiving demands, you are mistaken. For the first time, Lucas seemed genuinely taken aback. He had anticipated blushing, stammering, justifications, escaped. Instead stood a petite, young woman with iron in her tone. Fine, he said after a prolonged silence. Then we start. I require a bath. Let's witness if you're as clinical as you assert. The bathing process was the most challenging task Sophia had ever performed. Not due to the physical action she had trained for this, but due to the emotional closeness she hadn't foreseen. She assisted his transfer to the shower chair. He moved stiffly using his powerful arms but avoided her look the whole time, jaw tight with humiliation. When it was time to remove his clothes, she remained composed and professional, describing each step, requesting consent even when unnecessary. I will take off your shirt now. Are you ready? Now I'll help with your trousers. Any pain in your legs? He stayed mute, staring at the tiles. And in that moment, something changed within Sophia. This wasn't merely a patient. This was a human being enduring suffering that extended far beyond the physical. Lucas, she said gently, using his first name for the first time. I know this is painful. I know you feel exposed and ashamed. But I need you to know something. I do not see you as feeble. I see you as immensely strong, enduring the toughest challenge of your life. He finally looked at her. Tears welled in his dark eyes, tears he fought to contain in her presence. Don't speak as if you know me, he said roughly. You know nothing about me. You're correct, she conceded, adjusting the water temperature. I don't know you, but I would like to. Not the millionaire. Not the tycoon. The man who's here now, struggling to find a purpose to continue. For the next half hour, Sophia washed him with a mix of medical expertise and gentleness he hadn't experienced since childhood. No unneeded remarks, no false positivity, no patronizing voice, just quiet honor. When it concluded and she helped him into fresh clothes, Lucas felt drained but also, oddly, unburdened. He had passed the first trial, and more crucially, Sophia hadn't fled. Now we'll conduct a full mobility evaluation, she said, helping him onto the therapy table. For the next hour she worked systematically, checking joints, muscles, responses, making notes, asking detailed questions about feeling and discomfort. Initially his replies were single words. Slowly they became sentences. Then he posed inquiries of his own. Is there any possibility I'll stand again? She stopped writing and met his eyes. The physicians told you under 5%, correct? He nodded bitterly. Numbers are data, Lucas, not destiny. I've witnessed patients with grimmer prognoses regain function experts declared impossible. And I've seen patients with better odds never improve. You know what separates them? Spirit, perseverance, dedication even when it's agonizing. Even when it seems futile. Your body can achieve remarkable adaptation, but it requires you to trust it's achievable. He watched her for a long time. I don't know if I can trust in anything anymore. Then for now, she said simply, I will trust for both of us. Something in those words and the quiet assurance of her voice touched a place deep inside him. For the first time in months, a small ember glowed. Not quite faith, but wonder what might occur if he actually attempted. The remainder of the morning was basic stretches and conditioning. She pushed him to his edges but never over. Explained every movement. Acknowledged minor successes. When they finished near lunch, Lucas was spent in a way he hadn't been since before the accident, the good kind of fatigue. That comes from genuine exertion. Tomorrow we repeat, Sophia stated, organizing her kit. And each day will be slightly more demanding because you're growing stronger. And I'll expect more. Sounds like punishment, he grumbled. The faintest hint of a smile touched his lips. It is, she smiled back. But it's the punishment you need to become the person you wish to be again. After she departed, Lucas sat by the window, but this time he wasn't watching the city with resentment. He was thinking about the 24-year-old woman who didn't fear him, who didn't treat him as a casualty, who spoke of healing as if it were real. Downstairs in the kitchen, Maria noticed something new in her daughter's expression. How was it, child? Sophia exhaled deeply. It's complex, Mom. He's profoundly injured, not just physically. He's furious at existence, at fate, at himself. But beneath all that rage, there's a decent man who just needs to recall how to feel. Again, Maria smiled with maternal insight. Then you two are ideally matched. He requires someone who sees the person behind the suffering, and you need to learn that helping others doesn't mean neglecting yourself. Sophia nodded, though she didn't fully grasp yet. She would weeks later, when she understood what began as employment was evolving into something much more profound and much more risky. Thank you for staying with us. The bond between Lucas and Sophia is merely commencing. What they're about to learn about each other will transform all they believed about affection and salvation. Comment: Sophia is a healer if you feel she is precisely what Lucas required. 3 weeks later, a strict schedule was in place. 6 a.m., washing and personal care 7:30, meal 8 o'clock, first strengthening session 11 o'clock, second session concentrating on lower body 3 p.m., functional therapy 5 o'clock, therapeutic massage 9 p.m., bedtime preparation. Because had ceased fighting, not because he became compliant but because he found Sophia was as determined as he was. When he protested and exercise was too painful, she answered that discomfort signaled muscles were engaging. When he tried to wound her with sharp words meant to drive her off, she gazed at him with boundless patience and said his language didn't frighten her. It stemmed from terror, not malice, but something else was blooming between them, something neither anticipated. In the still moments between repetitions, when he recovered his breath and she calibrated equipment, they started to converse. Not pleasantries, authentic dialogue, the kind most evade because it demands too much openness. One afternoon during a leg massage, everything shifted permanently. Sophia's hands worked with professional accuracy, but also with a kindness that surpassed method. Why did you choose physiotherapy? Lucas inquired suddenly. She didn't cease her motions, but her voice softened. Because when I was 14, I saw my grandfather pass in a crowded hospital waiting area. Because when I was 14, I saw my grandfather pass in a crowded hospital waiting area. He had a heart attack while working as a janitor. No private plan, just nurses for 60 people. Nobody had capacity to attend to him properly. He died alone on a stretcher while my mom and I stood outside with no updates. Lucas turned his head to watch her. I'm sorry, Sophia. Me too. But that day showed me something. Impoverished individuals shouldn't endure more, simply because they lack funds. Every person merits being treated with honor. So I decided I would become the presence I wished had been there for my grandfather. And why take this position? He asked. I'm exactly the type of wealthy individual you likely disliked. I don't dislike you, she said truthfully. I accepted because my mom required an operation we couldn't pay for. But I remained because I found something unexpected. What? That suffering doesn't choose. You can possess 500 million, race, and still be just as damaged as someone who has zero. Real riches aren't in an account. It's in having individuals who remain when you stumble. Lucas felt something tighten in his throat. Then, I must be the most destitute man alive. No, she corrected tenderly. You're the most solitary man alive. But that can shift. How? By allowing someone closer. By ceasing to push people away before they can harm you. By daring to trust again. I did trust, he said bitterly. Camila left me when I needed her most. My associates deceived me. Companions disappeared when I stopped being beneficial. Then you trusted the incorrect people, she said simply. But that doesn't mean all people are identical. And you? He asked, voice low. You're different. I don't know, she confessed. But I'm here. Correct. 21 days of your darkest hours and I haven't fled yet. Yet, he echoed. Yet, she repeated with a slight grin. But each day that goes by makes it less probable, a lengthy, comfortable quiet filled with unspoken sentiments. Finally, Lucas asked what had occupied his thoughts since their meeting. Why have you never had a partner, Sophia? A woman like you, intelligent, compassionate, lovely, should have companionship. Warmth rose to her cheeks, but she didn't avert her eyes. Never had the opportunity. Cared for my mom when she became sick. Worked and studied. And truthfully, never encountered anyone worth risking my serenity for. Not even once. There was a man in university. Invited me out repeatedly. Seemed pleasant. But when I explained I couldn't go out on weekends due to work and family duties, he stopped calling. Found someone with fewer complications. He was a fool, Lucas stated with certainty. Probably. She agreed, but it taught me something vital. The right partner won't view my obligations as burdens. They'll see them as components of who I am. And you're still waiting for that person. Sophia looked at him and something new was in her gaze. I'm not waiting for anything. I'm living my path. If someone appears who can walk alongside me without demanding I become less than I am, it will be a blessing. If not, I'm content alone. Lucas felt profound respect for this young woman who spoke with insight he, at 42, was only starting to comprehend. You know what's most ironic? He said after a pause. What? I spent 42 years surrounded by individuals forging bonds based on shared advantage, professional profit, social appropriateness, and the first genuine discussion I've had in years is with someone I compensate to be here. I'm not here solely for the compensation anymore, Lucas, she said softly. Initially, yes, I won't deceive you. But now I stay because I desire to witness your improvement, because I trust there's a remarkable man underneath all that anguish, and because, honestly, I enjoy our talks. Even when you're harsh. Especially when you're harsh, because each time you attempt to push me aside and I remain, it's a minor triumph against the dread that rules you. You're too perceptive for your age, and you're too clever to keep acting. You don't care about anything. That night, Lucas lay awake observing the ceiling, unable to cease thinking of her, of how she perceived him not as a fallen magnet or a pathetic cripple, but as a human being battling to live. In the staff suite on the upper level, Sophia couldn't sleep either. She was thinking of the way his expression softened when he lowered his defenses, the way his eyes sparkled at slight progress, the rare authentic chuckle that emerged when she shared amusing clinic tales. She was thinking things a professional physiotherapist should never think about a client, and it frightened her. Because Sophia Pereira, the 24-year-old who had never been kissed, falling for Lucas Mendes, and she knew that a 40-to-year-old millionaire from Ipanema and a woman from Complexo do Alemão existed in spheres that could never truly merge. But the heart, she would soon find, doesn't comprehend logic or social divides. Once it begins to feel, there's no containing it. If you've reached this point, thank you. What occurs next will transform everything between Lucas and Sophia permanently. The boundary between professional and deeply personal is ready to shatter, and neither is prepared for the fallout. Comment a phrase from this section that resonated with you most. 2 months passed. Early June, Rio prepared for cooler winds. Inside the main's penthouse, a very different tempest was forming. Lucas had improved beyond any medical prediction. He now sensed prickling in his legs, feelings that were absent before. Sometimes he could activate muscles that had been still for months, insufficient to stand, but infinitely superior to the bleak 5% forecast. Dr. Almeida came to assess him and was astonished. "I don't know what your physiotherapist is doing," he told Lucas, examining the fresh scans, "but it's effective. Nerves reactivating, muscles firing where they shouldn't. This is exceptional." But Lucas knew it wasn't just the therapy. It was Sophia. Her supportive tone when he wanted to surrender. Her real smile at his cynicism. Her endless tolerance when agony made him vicious. The way she touched him, not just with skilled fingers, but with fingers that genuinely cherished, and that scared him more than the injury, because he was developing love for her. With a 24-year-old who merited dating men her age, living freely, not sacrificing her youth, nursing a damaged man 18 years her senior, he vowed he would never cross that line. Maintain strict professionalism, shield her from his complex, selfish emotions. But one morning everything shifted. Lucas had a horrific night. His right shoulder seized completely at 2 a.m. An intense muscle cramp that woke him, panting in torture. Each motion intensified it. He endured silently, perspiring, clenching his jaw, waiting for 6 a.m. When Sophia entered at the scheduled hour, she discovered him ashen, drenched, clearly in misery. "Lucas, what occurred?" "My shoulder," he gritted out. "Froze at 2. Can't move." The anguish. She evaluated instantly, hands expert in caring. "Severe spasm." "Why didn't you call me?" "Didn't want to disturb you." She held his look for a prolonged moment. "Assisting you is never a disturbance. It's my role. And besides," the words caught in her throat. She had nearly revealed too much. "Besides what?" He pressed, even through suffering, needing to hear it. "Besides, I care for you," she finished softly. "More than I ought to. But that's a talk for later. Now I must release this tissue before it creates lasting harm." She helped him to the therapy table. Just the movement made him cry out. "Lie on your stomach. This will hurt severely, but we have no alternative." He lay down, steeling himself. She warmed the area first with gentle pressure. Then, "I'm stretching now. Breathe with me. In through the nose, out through the mouth," he attempted. When she took his arm and started the deep extension, pain detonated like lightning. A scream ripped from his throat. Tears streamed, not just from physical torment, but from everything he had suppressed for months. The fear of never walking, the shame of reliance, the solitude of being deserted by all he believed cared, the ache of loving someone he could never earn. And in the midst of that unbearable suffering, in total exposure, the words escaped before he could restrain them. "Sophia." His voice fractured. "I need you to love me." Her hands stilled. Her heart stalled. "Lucas, what?" "Don't pull away," he whispered, tears flowing freely now, "or the pain will be unbearable." She stood frozen, holding his arm in the stretch. In total shock, he opened his eyes and stared directly into hers, raw, naked fragility. "I'm not speaking of intimacy, Sophia," he said, voice breaking. "I'm speaking of love. I need to be loved. I need someone to perceive me as more than a recovery case or an asset. I need to feel like I am significant, truly significant to someone." Sophia felt her own tears rising. "Lucas, I spent 42 years constructing barriers," he continued, the words pouring out in a desperate torrent, "believing love was a flaw. That emotion made you weak. That unlocking your spirit gave others power to ruin you. And I was correct. Camila ruined me. Guard yourself. Keep the barriers high." "I can't," he admitted, voice utterly shattered. "It's too late. You're already inside, Sophia. You walked through every barrier. And now I'm more frightened than ever, because I finally discovered someone worth loving. And I have zero to offer except this, a broken man who can't even stand." Sophia carefully released his arm and sat on the table's edge, hands shaking. "Lucas, you don't comprehend. I'm frightened too." "Of what?" "Of this." She gestured between them. "Of what I experience. Because I crossed that line weeks ago. And each day I spend with you, every conversation, every minor when I fall a little deeper in love with you. and I know it's improper. I'm your physiotherapist. You're 18 years older. We originate from entirely separate worlds. So you understand exactly why this can never occur. He said, though his heart pleaded her to disagree. No, she corrected firmly. I understand exactly why society will condemn us. But I don't know why it can't occur if we both desire it. If we're both willing to confront the results. Sophia, I can't stand. Perhaps never will. I can't give you a conventional life. I can't take you strolling. I can't even rise to embrace you. And who decided that's what I require? She asked, voice strengthening. Lucas, I didn't fall for your legs. I fell for your sharp intellect, your dry wit, the manner you push me, the way you struggle daily even when it aches, the goodness you conceal behind pride, the person you are, not the person you were. You don't grasp what you're stating. The newness will fade. You'll realize you gave up your prime for someone who can never provide what you merit. And why don't you allow me to decide that? She retorted. I'm 24, not a child. I know what I feel. And it's authentic. Silence electric. Charged. If we do this, Lucas said slowly, if we cross this boundary, there's no return. Everything alters. I know, she whispered. People will gossip. They'll say terrible things about you, that you're targeting my wealth. Let them, she said. I know the truth. I could harm you. Sophia, I carry excessive emotional weight. Everyone carries scars. Lucas, the difference is whether we let them limit us or let someone help mend them. He extended his hand, the sole thing he could do from the table. Sophia observed it for long seconds, knowing that if she accepted it, her path would shift forever. She accepted it, their fingers laced. And that simple contact was more closeness, more truth, more pledge than 1,000 ardent embraces. I'm afraid, she confessed. Me too, he said. But perhaps it's time to be courageous together. Slowly, allowing him time to withdraw. Sophia leaned forward. He didn't move, didn't desire to. When her lips finally met his, it was gentle, tentative. Tender. Her first kiss. His first sincere kiss in years. And in that space full of medical gear and reminders of limitation, two damaged souls discovered something neither had dared dream of. Hope, unity, love. The type that doesn't require perfect forms or ideal situations. The type that simply exists because two people chose to see each other wholly and love regardless. Do you believe authentic love can conquer any barrier? Or are Lucas and Sophia destined to hurt because of the worlds they originate from? The subsequent 14 days were the most joyful Lucas had ever known. They had crossed the invisible line, but cautiously, honorably, building upon the foundation of trust already created. They informed no one yet. Maria suspected, mothers always sense but remained silent, observing with guarded hope. Lucas's physical advancement accelerated. He could now sense pressure in both legs, sometimes shift his toes intentionally. Physicians termed it miraculous. He knew the real miracle had a name. Sophia. One Thursday afternoon, everything collapsed. Sophia concluded the session early so Lucas could take a vital call with his legal team. She went to the utility room to clean her uniforms. The utility room was adjacent to a small office Maria used for household tasks. The door was slightly open, and from inside came a voice Sophia recognized immediately. Camila Porto. What was Lucas's ex-fiancée doing here? Sophia approached silently. Something in Camilla's icy, scheming tone made her halt, and then she heard terms that froze her blood. Camila was on her mobile, speaking quietly but not quietly enough. The attorney states with the health documents we acquired. We can have him ruled mentally unfit in days, Camila said, voice poisonous. He's oblivious. He's so occupied with his little physio from the favela, he's not even reviewing the paperwork. By the time he awakens, we'll have total command of Mendes Holdings. And you, my dear, will be the new president. A pause. Relax, Eduardo. Lucas is done. Physically, he's a cripple, and soon we'll demonstrate he's mentally unstable too. The psychiatrist we compensated will testify. The magistrate is bought. All is arranged. Another pause. Then a laugh like shattering crystal. The physiotherapist? She's a nothing from Alemao. No funds for attorneys, no contacts. If she tries to meddle, we obliterate her. A few incriminating images. Some well-placed gossip about an unprofessional relationship with a susceptible client. Her profession is finished. Sophia stood motionless behind the door, heart hammering so fiercely she feared they'd detect. Camila ended the call, collected some left-behind files, and exited. Sophia waited 5 full minutes, trembling with fury and terror, before daring to move. They weren't merely planning to steal Lucas's firm. They were going to use her to accomplish it and ruin her in the procedure. She had to inform Lucas, but how without destroying him entirely? He was just beginning to heal, to trust and love anew. This could demolish everything. That night, after the evening meal, after the household departed, Sophia entered his suite. He was by the window, city lights gleaming in his eyes, grinning when he saw her. "Hello, beautiful." The grin shattered her heart because she was about to crush it. "Lucas, I must tell you something grave. Something I overheard today. It's going to wound." The grin vanished. "Tell me." She recounted everything, each term of Camilla's scheme, the falsified health reports, the paid psychiatrist, the corrupted magistrate, the lover Eduardo waiting to seize the company, the plan to wreck Sophia if she intervened. Lucas listened in total silence. His face didn't alter, but Sophia saw his jaw tighten. His hands formed fists. When she concluded, the quiet was overwhelming. She anticipated explosion, rage, something to fracture. Instead came ice-cold tranquility. The tranquility of a man who had just declared war. "You possess evidence?" he asked, voice perfectly controlled. "No," she confessed, voice quivering. "I merely overheard. I didn't record anything. It's my testimony against hers. And she has wealth, influence, networks. That's why I feared to tell you." He watched her intensely. "Sophia, look at me. Do you have faith in me?" "Absolutely. I would never question you." "Then that's all the confirmation I require. If you state she's doing this, then she is. And we will halt her." "How?" A cold, predatory smile. Camila committed one fatal error. "What?" She underestimated the incorrect person. "Not me. You." Sophia knelt beside his chair, eye level. "Lucas, I'm terrified." She stated, "She'll annihilate my career if I interfere." He took her face in his hands. "Nobody will contact you. Nobody will injure you. I swear. Because now you're not confronting the solo. You have me. And when Lucas Menes protects someone he loves, heaven help anyone who attempts to harm her." It was the inaugural time he voiced love aloud. Sophia felt tears burn. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too," he replied. "And that's why we're going to win this conflict together." That night he made calls he hadn't made in months to the sole lawyer he completely trusted, to a discreet investigator, to press contacts who still respected him. When he terminated the final call, he looked at Sophia, who had remained by his side all evening. "Tomorrow the counterstrike starts," he said with iron resolve. "Camila desires to play vicious. She forgot I created the game. Lucas and Sophia's love is ready to encounter its ultimate test, but united they are more powerful than anyone conceives. Comet, united they are unbreakable. If you trust, they will overcome Camila." The next days were a calculated hurricane of strategy. Dr. Silva, Lucas's loyal attorney of 28 years, arrived with cases full of documents. "In 28 years," he said, spreading files across the desk, "I've witnessed numerous betrayals. But this one is especially intricate. Camila submitted papers 10 days ago alleging your physical state has induced mental decline. 3 psychiatrists who never assessed you are prepared to swear you're incapable of running your enterprise. The judge is purchased." Sophia felt fury simmering. "How is this lawful?" "It isn't," Silva stated coldly. "But when you possess sufficient capital, you can purchase testimony." He displayed bank transfers, fabricated documents, evidence of a 1.5 million reals payoff to the magistrate. "The hearing is in 8 days," Silva continued. "If the judge decides for her, she gains legal custody over you and complete control of your assets and firm." "And how do we prevent it?" Sophia asked, gripping Lucas's hand with undeniable truth. Silva answered, "We must prove 3 things. Lucas is mentally sound. Camila is acting deceptively. This is a criminal plot. We already have independent psychiatric exams scheduled. The investigator is tracking their money, but we require one more element. Camila implicating herself on recording. Lucas and Sophia exchanged a glance. They would set a trap. Over the next 7 days, Lucas trained like a man possessed because something impossible happened. One evening during massage, Sophia sensed it. Deliberate movement. Lucas bent his left knee, then his right, then raised his foot centimeters off the mattress. They wept, laughed, embraced each other, shaking with elation. For the first time, genuine neurological return. From that night onward, Lucas multiplied therapy sessions. For hours morning, for hours afternoon. Agony beyond words. Day 1, stood gripping parallel. Bars for 45 seconds. Day 3, took 5 steps with Sophia's complete support. Day 5, walked 8 meters with a walker. Day 7, 15 meters with a cane. Day 9, walked without aid from bedroom to lounge, limping, sweating. Each step a war but walking. When he collapsed onto the couch, spent but victorious, Sophia, Maria, and Dr. Silva were crying. In 28 years as a lawyer, Silva said, voice choked, I've never seen a man literally rise from a chair through pure determination and affection. The next day, Lucas called Camila. She answered on the second ring, artificial sweetness in her tone. Lucas, what a shock. How are you feeling? Superior to you can imagine, he said neutrally. Camila, I've been reflecting. Perhaps we erred in concluding our relationship. I owe you a discussion. Can you visit tomorrow at 3? Quiet, then calculated curiosity. I suppose I can manage. The bait was placed. All was prepared for the final confrontation. Lucas had learned to walk again. He had proof. He had Sophia's love. But would it be sufficient to defeat a woman with zero limits to her ruthlessness? Thank you for arriving this far. The next section is the instant you've anticipated. Justice is arriving. Don't miss it. At precisely 3 p.m. Camila Porto arrived in a black Range Rover, dressed in a taupe Dior outfit and a flawless smile she had perfected for decades. Maria received her with frosty politeness and guided her to the main lounge. Lucas's voice called from the grand staircase. I'm up here. Camila turned in, petrified. Lucas Manus stood at the staircase's summit, on his own feet. No wheelchair, no cane. Clad in a custom-tailored suit, radiating the authoritative aura of the executive he once was, he started to descend slowly, purposefully, each step a monument. 2 months of brutal labor. 1 step, 2, 3. Camila retreated, all pigment leaving her complexion. Lucas, you can't stand. The specialist said I had under 5% odds. He interrupted, reaching the base and advancing toward her. Turns out I'm in that 5%. She tried to rebound, mind sprinting. This is incredible. Lucas, this alters everything, does it? He inquired, halting 1 meter away. Inform me, Camila, what exactly does it alter? I don't comprehend what you mean. He retrieved his phone and pressed play. Pristine audio filled the space. Camilla's voice from the utility room call. Every treacherous syllable captured by concealed microphones installed after Sophia's alert. Camila went pale as a ghost. Stop it, she whispered. Why? Don't wish to hear yourself conspiring to steal all I constructed. Declaring me mentally incapable. Menacing to ruin an innocent woman's livelihood. You possess no lawful recording. True, he said. This specific recording may not hold in court, but I have ample that will. Dr. Silva emerged from the neighboring room holding a thick dossier. Miss Porto, he said with a glacial smile, spreading papers across the surface. Bank wires of 50 million, raised to hidden accounts, counterfeit medical documents, evidence of the 1.5 million reals bribed to the Magistrate Jurdo's complete record of corporate deception. This is adequate for 15 years in prison. Silva continued. Fraud, forgery, conspiracy, corruption of a public official, and the federal police are quite interested. We have an appointment tomorrow morning. Camila stared in horror. You can't do this, she whispered. I have alliances. You have nothing. Lucas cut in, voice like iron. No capital. Your accounts will be sealed. No friends when the press discovers you tried to loot a man in a wheelchair. Your family reputation will be radioactive. Tears destroyed her perfect cosmetics. Please, she begged. All facade vanish. We can resolve this. I'll return the funds. Drop the lawsuit. You can go to prison, Lucas stated without pity. Or accept my proposition. She clutched at hope. What proposition? You will sign a full admission detailing every component of the conspiracy. Return every reel stolen. Withdraw all legal motions. And vanish from my life and this city permanently. In exchange, I won't file criminal charges or devastate your family publicly. And Eduardo, Silva added, will vanish too. We have sufficient to have him imprisoned. Camila crumpled onto the sofa weeping. How long do I have to choose? 20 seconds. At 21, I contact the federal police and this becomes public instantly. She signed every paper with trembling hands. When completed, Lucas called Sophia downstairs. She descended in simple attire, but with a nobility no designer brand could purchase. Camila glared at her with pure venom. This is Sophia Pereira, Lucas said, placing an arm around her waist and drawing her near. The woman who rescued me when you forsook me. The woman who had faith in me when nobody else did. The woman I love and will share the remainder of my life with. She's a social climber from the favela. Camila spat. Sophia spoke for the first time. Calm and unshakable. If I desired wealth, Ms. Porto, I would have accepted your bribe. I'm here because I love Lucas. Not his portfolio. Not his corporation. The man. Something you clearly never did. Camila had no retort. She snatched her purse and fled, slamming the door. Then silence. Lucas, Sophia, and Silva looked at each other, and suddenly they were laughing not from happiness, but from pure release. The fight was done. It's finished, Sophia whispered, leaning into Lucas. Now he corrected, kissing her forehead. It's merely starting. In the months that followed, everything transformed. Lucas continued healing until he walked almost normally, only a slight hesitation when exhausted. He reclaimed full command of Mendes Holdings, terminated the treacherous associates, and revolutionized the firm. Absolute transparency, grants for underprivileged engineering students, and to cutting-edge free rehabilitation centers in Rio's most needy districts managed by Sophia. Half a year after the confrontation, in a private ceremony on the penthouse terrace, Lucas and Sophia were wed. 60 guests who authentically cherished them, not 300 for appearance. When the inaugural dance commenced, Lucas took Sophia's hand and guided her to the center, and beneath the stars, to the melody they had selected. Lucas Mendes danced with legs experts said would never function again, with the woman who had saved him when he was shattered, with a heart that had finally learned to love truly. You recall, Sophia whispered as they swayed. When you said I need you to love me, and I believed you implied something else. He smiled, pulling her nearer. I meant love, real love, the type that doesn't depart when existence gets difficult, the type that holds your hand at your lowest, the type that makes you wish to improve. And you discovered it, she said, eyes glistening. No. He corrected gently. I discovered you, and that made all the difference. Years later, when questioned in interviews what was the most pivotal instant of his career, Lucas always gave the identical answer. It wasn't launching the firm or securing the initial major deal. It was the day Sophia Pereira entered my space and showed me that authentic power isn't never falling, it's possessing the bravery to rise again when everybody believes you're defeated. And when medical panels asked Sophia what was the greatest lesson of her profession, when everybody believes you're we don't merely restore bodies. And when medical, we restore spirits. Lucas didn't merely require his legs to operate. Everybody believes he needed to trust in human decency again, to feel cherished for who he is, not what he could supply. When we provided that, his physique followed. Together they built something far greater than a corporate empire, a heritage of fresh starts, of affection that transcends class, of hope when science says there is none. And every night, in the bed where Lucas once believed he would die alone, he held her and murmured the identical terms from that life-altering day. I need you to love me. And Sophia, comprehending